Welcome to another training camp report. This one, August 8th, 2021, Sunday. Sunday's a work day, training camp. Every day is the same. Monday through Sunday, no difference in terms of going out in the football field and getting your work done. You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, as always. And again, a big topic of discussion, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow officially today was designated as out for the Tampa Bay first preseason game. No shock there. Zach Taylor in a press conference said that he will not play. I think there's a few guys, maybe at least double digits of guys that won't play potentially in the first game against Tampa Bay for various reasons. We'll get to that in just a second. But the one thing Joe Burrow is going to continue to work on is the mental block that he's got right now with bodies being around him, because a big part of his game is pocket presence. Joe Burrow is all about pocket presence. He takes great pride in feeling the rush, not having to see the rush, almost like eyes in the back of his head kind of thing. And then he utilizes that skill set for pocket manipulation. You know, he knows exactly when to slide step, exactly when to step up in the pocket to extend plays. And that's a way to extend and create plays as well. You don't necessarily have to get out of the pocket, roll out, scramble. Just subtle movements inside the pocket that buys you an additional half a second to a second can be the difference between a big completion and a tragedy in terms of an incompletion, or worse yet, a turnover. So that's his game. He's phenomenal at that, and that's what he wants to get back to. He said he just doesn't feel like himself yet, and he's going to continue to work at it diligently every single day of practice. And I put my money on Joe Burrow being able to get back to where he was, what he was doing, being the player that he was before the injury, the ACL reconstruction. And he understands that it's a grind. I mean, it's a physical and mental grind, and there's no two ways about it. If there's anybody that can handle that and work his way through it, it's Joe Burrow. Never seen anybody with a better work ethic. I've seen guys with equal work ethics, but they're unbelievable work ethics. So I've never seen one with a better work ethic than Joe Burrow. Wanted to talk a little bit about a rookie offensive lineman as well at point number 2 here, Deontay Smith out of East Carolina, the big fourth-round selection in the offensive line. Long arms, 35-inch arms, and he's got an NFL body everywhere else as well. He's got potential. He's got some raw materials. And he has his good moments of practice and his learning moments of practice, just like any rookie lineman. But he bounces back quickly. The thing about him, he takes coaching, takes criticism, doesn't make the same mistake twice. And I think they're pretty impressed with him. And the fact is that they feel like mentally he's sharp enough to be able to handle position versatility. And that's the decision you have to make on young linemen. You know, do you overload him with too much mentally? And is he going to blow a fuse? You know, now you got real trouble. Do you just leave a guy at one spot and let him take repetition after repetition after repetition, get his feet on the ground and be able to just handle that? Or if he's in the running to be one of the 5, 6, or 7 best offensive linemen, if you're not one of the top 5, one of the 5 best, you have to have position versatility. So I think the fact that he's being moved around a little bit, Frank Pollock is impressed with what this young man has to offer, both mentally and physically. So yesterday he moved inside the guard, and talking to him a little bit after practice, he played left guard for one game his sophomore year in college, and he played right guard at the Senior Bowl. So he doesn't have a ton of experience at the guard position, but that's where the Bengals saw him play guard, was at the Senior Bowl, and they were impressed with his ability to do that, on top of play the left tackle position as effectively as he did in college at East Carolina. So they really like him. They really think that he's got a future. And the thing that I like about him is he's on the hip of all the veteran offensive linemen, asking great questions, trying to absorb as much knowledge as he possibly can from these guys. And and the veteran linemen say that the questions that he asks are really good questions. So I think this young man definitely has a bright future. You know, point number 3. Defense. Why is the defense ahead of the offense a little bit at this stage? You know, I think the biggest thing is defensively, they're not hurting themselves by making errors. and they're not shooting themselves in the foot. They're not jumping off sides. They're not making mental errors. They're not costing themselves. They're making the offense make plays. They're not making it easy for the offense. There's nobody that's blowing an assignment in coverage where the offense is running wide open jailbreak. Defensively, these veteran players know what they're looking at. They have their noses in their playbooks. They understand everything, and they're really getting they're stacking good performance on a daily basis. In fact, I don't think they've had a bad performance yet as a group, and every position group is taking it upon themselves, and every individual in that position group is taking it upon themselves to, on a daily basis, have a big practice that you can stack one good performance on another good performance. They're bringing energy, yet they're still disciplined, and that's a very, very good cocktail right there. That's two good ingredients for a super cocktail. Energy, but not losing your mind with the energy, still very, very disciplined and minimizing those mistakes. So I think that is no mistakes, no mental errors. Offensively, you'll see the ball's on the ground. Center quarterback exchange, the most basic premise in football, had problems there. Jumped off sides, false starts. Offensively, they're hurting themselves. So I think it all starts right there, and that's why the defensive performance has exceeded the offensive performance as a unit, almost on a practice by practice basis. And it's going to be interesting to see again about Deontay Smith. Is he going to be one of the 5 best guys that lines up in the offensive line opening day against the Minnesota Vikings? We'll see. Can't quite make that announcement yet. That's for sure. Miles to go before everybody rests. But first preseason coming up. Bengals practice today, and then they have a day off on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Get ready for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Friday, travel to Tampa Bay, and then Saturday it opens up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's right now they're not game planning. So there's not going to be a sophisticated game plan whatsoever. In fact, they're still in installation mode. When they go down to Tampa Bay, even on game day, in the morning on game day, they're going to be in a situation where they're having installation meetings. I mean, it's still fairly early in training camp, so it's not going to be where they're putting in blitzes and coverages to try to confuse anybody. They're going to try to make it as simple as possible. What they want to do, defensive coaches want to see people get off blocks, run to the football, and tackle. Who are the football players? Who's going to be able to be a guy that you can work with? Simple calls, nothing sophisticated, nothing to cloud the decision-making process. Who's going to have the instincts to make the proper reads, get off blocks, make plays. And then offensively, the same thing. Don't want to have a situation where they're having brain cramps in terms of assignments and just who's going to be able to pass protect. Who's going to be able to come off the football and sustain a block on a linebacker to get the running back to the second and third level? These are the kind of things. Who are your football players? So there's not going to be a big breakdown of defensive film by the Bengals offense of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and vice versa. Right now, in any preseason game, it's not about the opponent. It's about you. It's not. You're more worried about what you're doing rather than preparing for the opponent. You're more worried about getting yourself ready for the regular season to start. So the only thing that you're focusing on is the Minnesota Vikings. And then what coaches during the course of preseason, when they see what players can and can't do, where their strengths and weaknesses are, sometimes that kind of influences what they do from a game planning situation for the opener. Sometimes during the course of preseason, they find out that as they put their team together from a personnel standpoint, it's like, boy, this guy really brings this ability to the table. Let's incorporate this in a game plan. So sometimes things are added, sometimes things are deleted from a preliminary mental standpoint of a game plan for the season opener. So all that starts to take place when the Bengals travel down to Tampa Bay to take on the world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But again, I think Tampa Bay is going to be pretty basic, pretty vanilla as well. You may not see any of their starters. And let's wrap this one up with we already know that Joe Burrow will not be playing in this football game. There's a few guys that are nursing some injuries. Eli Apple has got a little bit of a hamstring. How much will he play? Trey Waynes is battling a hamstring issue. He's starting to work his way back to practice. How much will they play him? How many snaps will Joe Mixon get? Will it be a series or two and that's about it? If that, Ricardo Allen has got a little bit of a hamstring issue in the secondary as well. Marcus Bailey left yesterday's practice with cramps. I'm sure that he'll be back and ready to go against Tampa Bay. We have a couple of players that will definitely be out. They're going to be on some sort of an injury list. They're taking roster spots now, but they're going to be out for the season. Wyatt Hubert has had pec surgery. He tore a pectoral muscle. And then in the offensive line, Hakeem Adeniji did the same thing. So obviously those guys won't be participating in the football game against Tampa Bay. Larry Ogunjobi is fighting a hamstring issue. The defensive tackle they acquired from the Cleveland Browns in free agency, he hasn't been able to practice yet. If he practices next week, will they play him in the game in Tampa Bay? I doubt it. I'll probably give him a little bit more time. Trey Hopkins, rehabilitating from his ACL. I don't think he'll be making the dance. I don't think he'll take any snaps against Tampa Bay. Quentin Spain has been fighting a little bit of a knee strain. It all depends on how he practices next week when they come back from their day off on Monday. How many snaps he'll get. The veteran guard, they know he can play. Fred Johnson will be out for another week with that quad injury that he's got, so he won't play against the Buccaneers. So they're down some linemen, they're down some secondary members, and that's just all part of training camp. Nothing to be concerned about. I think DJ Reader, I think his snaps will be limited if he plays at all against the Buccaneers as well. So you're talking about, at least 10, maybe a dozen guys that won't play necessarily against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then guys that do play, if Joe Mixon does play, it's going to be limited. If Tyler Boyd plays, it's going to be limited. So that'll be preseason game number one. And in my mind, it's going to be interesting this year because there are only 3 preseason games. And then there's a full week off before the Bengals open with the Minnesota Vikings. They have Labor Day weekend off. The league does not do anything in terms of preseason or regular season games on Labor Day weekend. That's a much different dynamic. So it may influence how much veterans play in the 3 preseason games that are left because you have a full week to get ready to get in your regular season mode of 3 days of practice and getting ready and doing all the things from an installation standpoint with respect to meetings and practices to play a regular season game. The reason that they didn't play in that last preseason game, they wanted to make sure that nobody get hurt right before that first week. And then they wanted to get into the regular season mode with respect to coordinating the timing and preparation for a regular season game. Well, on a league-wide basis, every team in the league is going to be able to do that. Teams in the league would be, oh, boy, you play Thursday night, the last preseason game, you're lucky. You play Friday, wow, you're fairly lucky. Yeah, we have to play on Saturday. And then if a team had to play on a nationally televised game on Sunday, that's a big advantage or a disadvantage for the one playing on Sunday, advantage for ones that are playing on Thursday and Friday. They get extra days rest and preparation for the season opener. Well, the league made that an even playing field. Everybody has that week. So it'll be interesting to see how that might affect coaches' decisions on how much guys play and don't play in the 3 preseason games that are left.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham presented by First Star Logistics? Catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting. Search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.